It wasn't supposed to start like that. Let me try that again because it didn't work. Let's see here. There we go. I can't stop playing this.
Hello?
Yeah, you my screen froze, so just give me a second here.
Okay.
I keep seeing Veerling score over and over again, which is not the worst image to be frozen on there.
Yeah, but I can't. Whatever reason, I cannot change the screen. That's great. All the technology decides to take a crap as I'm about to go online. So that's
We have the technology.
Yeah.
The time is now.
I thought you guys were seeing the screen, and you guys weren't.
I'm seeing. Yeah.
All good.
You guys want to stall for time while I'm trying to figure this out? Go ahead.
So the Detroit Tigers have won 3 consecutive games against the Tampa Bay Rays in 3 mildly impactful games, 3 somewhat entertaining games. I said today, like, you know, I had a buddy of mine, his mom died, and so I went into the funeral, and they were losing, and I came out of the funeral and they were winning. I was like, oh man, this team just doesn't quit.
I was very lucky today. Just out of fun, I tweeted before the game that the Tigers will be just fine after Tyler Alexander leaves the game with 5 near perfect innings. And damn it, if that didn't come true.
Yeah.
Sometimes you get lucky. But that was really fun. I was at work today with the game on kind of in my desk in a drawer watching the game, and it was a good time.
Well, you know, what's interesting is you know, those first 5 innings felt a lot like, you know, May, June, July, honestly. Sure. And probably a lot of what's been going on since then. It's just, you know, the rest of the game felt a lot like what's been going on over the last 2 months, where they just don't seem bothered. They don't seem, oh, we're down 3-0. All right. Just claw back, and it seems like somebody different every game, really. I mean, there are a couple of above average players for sure. You know, you can usually count on Green and Carpenter. Colt Keith at times comes through big. Sometimes he hasn't. You know, he's just a kid, but huge today. And Parker Meadows keeps playing well. It's just a pretty remarkable what we've been watching.
You know, they used every position player today, and Benetti used a good. I thought you said it right. It was all hands on deck game, right? And that's kind of how this team, kind of how the whole team operates. Bullpen, starting pitching, and the bench. It's kind of an all hands on deck. Everybody kind of chipping in, and you know, is it something that can last throughout the ages? I don't know, but it sure has been a blast.
Yeah, and you got Casey Mize, his first ever relief appearance today, and it was kind of bumpy at first. He looked a lot like Casey Mize, and then, you know, lead off double in his second inning, and then he just turned into Casey Mize buzzsaw and struck out the next 3 batters. So it was like, all right, well, and then Brisky and Foley. I mean, those guys have just been lights out for the last 6 weeks, 2 months, or whatever, and yeah, just another awesome Tigers win to throw in the memory bank along with the other 30.
Yeah, exactly. You know, the Rays is not great. I didn't know they were 29th or in runs, or 27th, whatever it is. But man, Foley really looked like he was pumped today. He took that thing to another level. He was nasty.
Yeah, I mean, he was frequently hitting 98, 99. I think, you know, rounding up to 100, which we haven't seen a ton since the beginning of the year. So I don't know. It's just I mean, you could see it. You could see it. The way that the enthusiasm, the way the winning has been contagious. The guys are having fun. They're all super excited, and it's just, yeah, just talk about an incredibly fun, memorable season. This
computer's not memorable and fun. I hate this computer.
Oh,
dude, it literally just. I'm sorry about that, folks. So go ahead.
Casey Mize, Chris, maybe you were watching at the moment, or maybe you were in the funeral. I'm sorry if you were. The triple he gave up, I saw it only went like 200 feet and it was hit 80 miles an hour. Well, I missed that because some kid was talking to me. Damn students. Really thinking.
I'll be honest with you, I missed it too. That was at the point when I was leaving the house and getting in the car, and when I got in the car, there was a man. I was like, oh,
okay.
Oh, wait, wait. No, I saw the triple.
Yeah,
I didn't. I missed the double. The triple was it was just kind of perfectly placed down the right field line, I believe.
Yeah, I thought it was like in the corner.
Yeah, let me see.
So it wasn't a rocket.
I was going to actually go to the game today. Oh, by the way, welcome to the Motor City Metrics podcast here at TigersOnTheReport.com. I'm Rogelio Castillo and Simon Chris Brown and Uper. I was trying to do the introduction with Jason Benetti reading about the odds, and it didn't work. And for whatever reason, I don't know why it didn't work, but every time I tried to exit out, it just would not. Nothing was happening. So Chrome has been acting a little weird on Apple. So, but I do want to get to, as you guys were. Go ahead. I'm sorry.
No, you were just kind of discussing today's game in particular. The last two games were just as fun.
Yeah.
Yesterday was, the kind of the Job watch, and it seemed like the hitters were like, we want to see Job too. So they came through late. Torkelson with a huge home run, kind of the classic Torkelson home run that we thought we'd be seeing 30 of each year, right? Just a nuke. But yeah, it really does.
Slider bat speed, right?
Yeah. And but yeah, it was fun seeing Jackson Job for sure. And we got another classic Tarek Skubal performance. In that game, that surprise day game was I believe it was the shortest game of the year, 1 hour and 59 minutes. It was just mowing everybody down, securing the Cy Young, despite what Cleveland fans keep setting themselves up for. I don't know why they want to be disappointed so much.
I was just going to say, this is they will not let that die, will they? They are convinced that Class A is a Cy Young Award winner, and I'm just.
I thought it was just kind of internet people joking around for a while, and then I saw that like they're doing like legitimate like news reports on it and stuff. I'm like, what are we trying to do here? Yeah, I don't know. Whatever. Like I said, they're just setting themselves up for disappointment. It's
crazy. I mean, if in the years where there's no dominant starter or everybody's just kind of at that kind of B+ level, if some closer goes crazy like this, fine, I suppose. But in a year where Tarek Skubal's doing this, I mean, it's a joke to even have the discussion.
Yeah.
I mean, I don't understand how you're going to ignore a guy in your own division who's been dominating. I get it. He's a closer. I get it. You're your hometown, but Jose Ramirez is going to have a 40-40 year. That's a pretty impressive thing. He's not going to get any MVP votes, unfortunately, because, Aaron Judge, nor is Michael. I mean, like Bobby Witt Jr. You should be pissed at, as a Royals fan, that imagine if Bobby Witt Jr. was in the Yankees. He would be on television every single night. It would be relentless. So, but tonight, I don't know if you guys have noticed anything. I don't know if you guys are noticing anything weird about my background or anything or what I'm wearing, but
I see a Marlins hat.
Go Fish.
Yeah, I know. So you see two Marlin hats, and then usually I have the Just Baseball hat, or friends over at Just Baseball. But it's that cap you got me, Chris. The Miami.
The
Kings.
Did I get you that hat?
Yeah, yes, you did.
All right, sweet.
Yeah.
It's I don't know. It's fun, but also kind of funny, like rooting for terrible teams to beat your rivals. It's certainly nice to be on this side of it, where like the Tigers just control their own destiny and they're not taking any chances. They're like, you know what? What if we just win them all? And it's so funny thinking about it's been like 2 weeks. 2 weeks ago, we're like, well, they're heading into Kansas City and then to Baltimore, and we'll see what they can do. And then what do? They go win 5 of 6, and they come home, and it's remarkable. And now they got one of the hottest teams of baseball coming in the Chicago White Sox. It's going to be,
which is crazy itself.
I can't believe I actually said that sentence. Yeah, Brady Sizemore, shots there. You can put Garrett Crochet. They're a rival, so we're gonna give them our best, and that's adorable. That's cute, and
that's part of my good. I like it.
Yeah.
Do it.
I like it. I like it too. You give another reason why I hate the White Sox.
Yeah, I didn't get a chance to look this up, but I do recall very clearly the series before the Padres was in Detroit. And I remember either here or on Twitter saying that the Tigers can probably afford to lose one more series the rest of the way.
Mm-hmm.
That they didn't have to sweep, but they had to win series relentlessly from that point. And they lost the Padres series, even with the great grand slam by Meadows. But damn it, if they've not lost a series since.
Yeah, that was
it's
that was
unbelievable.
Boston, I think, right?
I think so. Yes.
And yeah, it's. I mean, that's the thing. They just keep winning series, right? Like they don't. It's a sweep or two games. It's. I don't know. I mean, it's also awesome to see that the city has woken up to it in the last 2 weeks. Really, like I'm getting texts from kind of friends who don't particularly care about baseball that much, but they know that I like baseball, and so they're like, hey, what's going on with these Tigers, the gritty Tigers? I don't really. I'm too old to follow that thing that's going on Twitter that Max Clark is all wrapped up in, with everybody calling them the gritty Tigers, and there are these pictures of the dog from Up and Stitch from Lilo and Stitch. I don't understand any of that, but I know people are posting it, and the Tigers have gotten into it, and Max Clark got into it, and it's that's another fun thing. So I'm really glad that younger people are getting this experience, right? Because they haven't had it. It's been 10 years since the Tigers were like this, and that was the end of the run, really.
Yeah, 2014 was actually kind of dull. I mean, because we were used to that sustained run of good baseball, and you could see some of the shine was off in 2014.
Yeah, as I recall, that I mean, it was a race to the final game. They needed David Price to go out there and pitch a gem.
Yeah,
but I remember like taking all that for granted and just being convinced that they were gonna, like, you had just gotten used to the Tigers being in the playoffs. It's what happens with fans, right? The first year, it's like this incredible moment, and you're super excited, and then a couple years down the road, and you're expecting it, and you're upset when it doesn't happen.
You'll never get moments like this. Like, I don't remember moments just like Matt Verling going, yeah, right. I mean, like I want this. You've been doing a great job with GIFs in our Discord chat. This is by far the greatest Tiger GIF I've ever seen in my life. This is like, I'm looking at it, I'm like, I want to run. I want Matt like just
yeah.
I don't. That's theirs. I didn't do that. Theirs is better than mine. I mean, this is a good time. I'm sorry. Go ahead, Chris. No, that's you're exactly right. Like it's that's super emblematic of what's been going on, and it's incredibly fun.
And that's a good right there. That subreddit there by Cameron Post. That's fantastic. He's absolutely, that Reddit thread has been in, just in terms of like volume wise, has low. It wasn't really doing much, but every time I'm in there now, it's popping. And the same thing with anybody on our Discord channel. If you haven't had a chance, if you want to join our Discord, free to join. No, no BS, no nothing. It's pretty a bunch of like-minded Tiger fans just hanging out, having a good time. And it's pretty awesome.
Well, I don't know if you saw that the sort of mildly impressive news, the Kerry Bonds nickname originated in that Discord.
Yes.
And it is now his official nickname on Baseball Reference.
Really?
Yes. You know how they have those nicknames? So yeah. I think Pick noticed that, which is it's just kind of wild. Yeah. Nicknames, Kerry Bonds or Carp. So
I like it.
That boy is good.
Yeah, I mean it's we're in there. It's mostly it's most active during the games, but there's a lot of I try to mostly put in stupid GIFs, and yeah, but it's I don't know. I think people are enjoying it in there. Hopefully,
but you look at the Veerling slide and how he came out of it, and that was really cool. But it's amazing when you think back now, this last month, how many of those little celebrations we've gotten to enjoy at home plate. It's like every night. And, it was interesting. It was pointed out the other night before the last night's game when they won 7-1. The prior 8 wins had all been by 1 or 2 runs, and they got back on that train again today. So, 9 of the last 10 victories have been by 1 or 2 runs. They are just sweating these games out. They're doing exactly what they need to get across the finish line each night. And whether that's the bullpen or the offense or a combination of the two, it's truly amazing.
Yeah, it's other than the kind of slow blowout yesterday, there have been a handful of those, but yeah, all these games have been tight, thrilling affairs. It's like you go back and you go like, what was the real turning point in the season? And it's hard to pick one. There's been so many points where everybody keeps going back to August 11th, I guess, just because they lost 3 games in a row right before that. But stuff had started going right before that. That Cincinnati series, I think, was before that. I think.
The Cole Keith series, like Cole Keith having that big home run at the end of July. But I personally think, you could pinpoint a lot of moments, but I think the Parker Meadows catch in Seattle, what robbing that, because right there, the Tigers were at that point. It was a series that they already won the series against Seattle, but that was a game where they could have potentially lost the series.
Yeah.
And that catch, that totally broke Seattle's back. It was a chance. The Seattle, I think Cal had a home run earlier the day too. So
he did.
So it was a team. There's so many Parker Meadow moments too, where you could literally, there's 4 or 5 in the last month alone that you could have that could be season turning moments. But Cole Keith single today, and hear him talk afterwards saying, I give my life to something, I'm paraphrasing, but just how he was able to manage. He was going to do everything he could, get the ball in center field. Hey, Mr. Kloss.
Mr. Kloss. Hello.
Stay classy, sir.
Hey, Doug.
Well, you're the inventor of that term. So,
no.
Well,
I think you came up with that. No, we've talked about it, but we've been thinking about John a lot lately.
Yeah.
How much he would dig this and how much fun it's been for to see this going on, and we miss him.
Yeah, he would be right now. John would be like, "See, I told you, I told you," because
Flaherty. He wanted Flaherty.
Yeah, he wanted Flaherty, and he was like, "Hey, you know what? Flaherty's gonna leave us the promised land." And he was, he talked about maybe even the postseason run. He was joking. He was like, he was kind of like, "Oh, do you think it would happen?" Usually my cynical behavior. No.
Nobody saw this coming.
Yeah.
Nobody, absolutely nobody. Maybe Jeremy in the Discord.
Yeah.
Who believes the Tigers are going to go 162 every year? Yes, Tigers are doing it for John. That's outstanding.
100%.
She's not married anymore, by the way. Christina Hendricks. She's not married to that guy. She was married to the guy from Super Troopers, the guy that did the Snosberry. She was married to that guy. That goofy looking mother effer was married to Christina Hendricks. Fun fact.
All right.
Anyway, sorry. I'll look that up. So anyway, let's there's another reason to celebrate too. The Erie Seawolves went back to back. They won their second straight Eastern League title, sweeping the Somerset Patriots. I believe it was that Monday night, Chris? Or Tuesday night?
Tuesday. We did the show.
I felt like ages ago already. And that was a big win. It's only I think it marks like a handful of teams that have only done it in the Eastern League history. And the Eastern League's been around since over 100 years, I believe now. So that's saying something. And congratulations to Greg Enya, who, by the way, tomorrow's his birthday. So send him a happy birthday.
That's right. I forgot. Yeah. His same birthday as my mom.
Yeah. And that team, Gateway Alvarez managed his ass off too. And there was a lot of gritty Seawolves, gritty Tiger comparisons to me, at least, because Josh, have a good night. We'll see you this weekend over at the ballpark. But it's funny guys collect tons. Oh, okay. That's true. No, funny guys do. If you have a sense of humor, you can go far with that. I was looking at that. But anyways, getting back to the Seawolves, great performance bullpen from Tyler Owens, who collected a 6-out save, and he was pumping 97, 98 with a lot of life. And it was just a whole team effort. Everybody, a different person stepped up. Gage Workman, All-Star, Eastern League All-Star, along with Hayu Lee and Jackson Jobe. But for whatever reason, they didn't give the MVP. They gave it to some guy who they started doing the voting in August, which is ridiculous. So,
Yeah, I mean Christian Campbell is the more famous prospect. He came kind of from out of nowhere, but he's now like a top 30 prospect in baseball. He's a very good player, but it is the Marlins scored. I know they had men on first and third with nobody out, and now it's
2 on, nobody out.
Yeah. So yeah, I don't know. We talked about the other day. It felt wrong to have someone win it other than Gage Workman, but who knows whatever politics go on with MVP voting in the minor leagues. And there's enough shenanigans in the big leagues with that sort of stuff. Writers not even putting Justin Verlander on their ballot, so Rick Porcello wins, so forth and so on. But yeah, I don't know.
So is you guys are no more than me. Is Workman a prospect again, or is he just a guy who had a great year in the minors?
I think he put himself back on the prospect status. I think he has enough there to make himself like as a guy who could potentially play the utility infield role for the Tigers. But now it's just a question of how do you protect him, because he's Rule 5 eligible, I believe, correct, Chris?
Yeah.
So,
I mean, yeah, if you say like, does he have a chance to be a big leaguer? I'd say yes, in that utility role. He's a left-handed bat with power and speed. He can play basically everywhere. So I think there's a future there in that regard. I still don't believe fully in the hit tool. I think there's always going to be a lot of swing and miss, and it's probably never going to be a high average. But with the impact in the bat and the other things he can do, he's definitely the sort of guy that AJ Hinch could use. Tigers kind of have a lot of those guys right now, though. Yeah. But yeah, I think he'll get to the big leagues. So in that mind, I think that's a prospect, right?
Yeah. The one thing about Uper is that even with you have to kind of wonder whether it'd be here or not. That's the question, because the Tigers, right now. I don't really, it's weird. Usually by now we're talking about stuff beyond the postseason, or into October plans and all that stuff. But for the first time since I started writing full time or what have you, since 2017, I'm writing for the moment, if you will. I don't have to write any free agent pieces. I don't have to do any of that. We're voting on our Tiger Player of the Year, or Tiger Minor League Positional Player of the Year, Reliever of the Year, and what am I forgetting here, Chris? I'm forgetting
Breakout
Player of the Year. So we have four players we're voting on right now, between myself and Jerry and Chris. So, but here's good question here from Sean. Let's see here. Let me get this.
That ball is gone. Touch 'em all time.
So Sean, his question was, if George Lombard Jr. gets a manager job, is Gabe on the short list to replace? Love it, fellas. Hope to see you folks on Sunday at Comerica. And you will, sure. You will definitely see us on Sunday. I don't know about you, Chris, but I'll be out there Sunday.
Yeah, I'm planning to be there every day this weekend. I still haven't seen the email giving me credentials yet, but
I guarantee you'll be in there.
I would think that yes, Lombard would be on the short list for a lot of managerial positions, and I would think that Gabe Alvarez would get a look at being a bench coach at least. I don't know. You never know what I mean, it's AJ Hitch's call all the way there, right? Like, what's he want on his bench with him, and if Alvarez can provide that, I mean, it's impossible to argue with what he's done. It means 3 seasons in Double-A, 3 championship series, 2 rings. It's a hell of a run, and he's basically. I mean, some of those guys have been parts of all 3 of those teams, I think, but he's basically the connecting tissue. So, yeah, he definitely deserves whatever kind of upgrade he wants.
Well, that's what I was thinking. He has managed so many of these players that makes a lot of sense. Yeah. I mean, unless Hinch has a guy from his background with other teams that he's always wanted to shoehorn on the staff somewhere and never had a chance. I mean, that might play a role too. But
yeah, I think he's already done that with a lot of his guys already, hasn't he? I mean, he's brought in everybody from Houston.
Sure.
I mean, Gary Jones, another guy. I think Gary Jones managed him in AAA, I believe, at some point too. So that's where that comes in. But look, Gabe, if there's one thing about Gabe Alvarez this year more than any other year, is the fact that he did this with a roster that Jake Holton lost to injury for the year. Hyu Lee out for the year. Trey Cruz out for the year. You did this with Troy Melton out. You did this with basically you MacGyvered this roster into and Akron was good. Akron had some really good prospects. Somerset has some really good prospects. Although after watching Spencer Jones in the series, I think he's a little slightly overrated. That's just me. He's just tall and I don't know what the big deal is. Anyway, I digress. There is a lot to be said with that because I mean, did he get a little bit of help with a veteran bullpen a little bit? Sure, he got some veteran arms that thrown in there. Oscar Bergner, really, I mean, the guy was masterful. Just did he belong in AAA? You can argue that, sure. But look, Gabe Alvarez pulled as LeSean was basically saying what Iron Man did in the first movie.
Yeah.
With a pile of scraps. That's exactly what he did. And the dominant pitcher this year, Stan, probably down there, was in terms of for the championship route. You know what? It's kind of like a hot potato because there's not one to me. I mean, Garrett Burhan, for example, was really dominant at one point too, right, Chris? I mean, I think it was just a team effort.
Yeah, I mean, Austin Bergner went out there and pitched 12 incredible innings in the actual playoffs. But yeah, down the stretch, it was everybody was pitching well. Really, and the bullpen, something we talked about the other day. Just some of the guys they got from out of nowhere, not out of nowhere, but the guys they got in the trade deadline deals or the smaller deals like CJ Wines came up at the very end. He's a guy they got for Trey Wingenter in a very under the radar deal, and he came up and pitched well. Silva pitched pretty well. Tyler Owens, who they got for Chafin, pitched well. Yeah, I don't know. It's kind of the attention to detail that we're seeing throughout the organization now, where they're adding guys who they think they can help and improve at almost every level. You get a Patrick Lee from independent ball who comes up and helps 3 different teams this year.
Yeah,
it's they're just paying a lot more attention and they're doing it a lot more intelligently. And I was listening to the podcast with Scott Harris with Cody and Kieran. And it was Scott Harris was pointing out that there are tons and tons of other people behind the scenes that we've never heard of that are part of this. And that, I think that's probably true. There are probably a lot of analysts in the background saying, hey, what about this guy? And then, it filters up and they go get him. So I don't know. The organization seems to be working really well right now, even though there's still plenty of work to do in the future.
Yeah. I mean, there's, Stan was asking about how Scott Harris's deadline pickups work for Erie. That's exactly what we saw down Liam Hicks.
Yeah.
Hit over 400. He was the catcher they picked up in the Carson Kelly deal along with Owens. And they were both, if those guys weren't on that team, Erie would have lost in the first round. I guarantee it, because Hicks came in immediately. There was a stat that Greg Gagnon posted. After Hicks joined the lineup, they went 17-3. 17-3 and gave stability when he was starting as a catcher. The Erie has struggled ever since Stingler left. They haven't really had a number one catcher. Alfonso is what he is. I mean, he's a catcher, but Hicks is kind of a better catcher. He sees the ball very well, and I think he had 3 or 4 hits the day of the championship game, and so it was just those two immediately played a role. And then the acquisition of Eric Silva, who's going to Arizona Fall League, we picked up in the Giants for the Mark Canha deal. That was a very good deal for them as well. And he solidified Erie's bullpen. And there's just, you were talking about CJ earlier, Chris, who was part of your piece, did a really good job with the Arizona Fall League piece. You can find it on TigersMLReport.com. That's just another example of good scouting. Same thing with Joseph
Montalvo.
Yeah. There's a guy right there who I think is going to be a guy to watch next year at West Michigan in the Erie, because he's a guy with a changeup that's pretty good. His changeup is better than advertising. Mm-hmm. So apparently the 2 hats are working. So definitely 4-0 now, Marlins. Yeah, I do have another hat, but I'm not going to wear 3 hats because that's ridiculous.
Yeah. Well, it's the magic numbers 2. So magic hat number is 2.
Right now, also, Tigers legend Dane Myers is coming to the plate with the bases loaded.
Nice. I did want to point out that was a very, very much a joint article about the Rule 5. You wrote up the pieces on Castillo and Lorenzo and the intro, basically. So we worked on that. We just wanted to get something out because that's an interesting group this year. It's the stuff that we've been talking about now because there's nothing else to talk about. Kind of fades to the background, honestly. The Arizona Fall League, cool. What about October baseball in Detroit?
Yeah.
So I mean,
Speaking of that,
we'll talk about it, but yeah.
Hinch today talked about something that I tweeted about a couple days ago, and they're doing what I was assuming, and I don't think it's any great call. I think it was pretty obvious. He said that Skubal likely does not pitch again if it's only about seeding on Sunday.
Yeah.
And that makes all the sense in the world, right? I mean, I couldn't imagine caring if you play Baltimore or Houston if it depends on getting Skubal on the mound in game one.
Yeah, no, I was thinking about that too, and yeah, it's yeah, I mean, it's worth actually looking into this now, right? Because it actually feels like it may be happening for sure. But yeah, like you're either playing 2 to 3 games at Baltimore or 2 to 3 games at Houston, unless kind of some sort of miracle happens. And I see the Orioles are losing 5-0 right now. Maybe they lose their final 4 games. The Tigers win their final 3, and somehow the Tigers are the top seed. But yeah, I don't think the difference. You're playing on the road. I don't think it matters that much. Which stadium or which team you're playing. You have to go on the road and win 3 games. The best chance to do that is with Tarik Skubal pitching at least one of those games. So
yeah,
they're not going to waste him just to get a better seed.
Yeah, there is. I think Wilmer Flores and Peyton Graham are bait, but we'll have to we'll talk about that. We'll pick up that conversation right now. Let's go into inside the numbers, and I'm lost. See, okay. There it is. All right, Uper, what is your insider number?
A couple of just real easy ones tonight because it's just been so fun. The last 40 games, the Tigers are 29-11. So that's a 725 winning percentage, which is outstanding. It's phenomenal. You can't say enough about it. But it does make you think back to 1984. The Tigers going 35-5, also a 40-game stretch. 875 winning stretch to start that season. Just think about how mind-blowing that was. It was amazing in the moment, and it's even crazier to think back on of how amazing it was. But this streak that they're on, this run has probably been every bit as satisfying as that was. Okay, because that was the start of a season. You knew that by the veterans that they had, that it was a club that could go places. They had won 92 games the year before. They were ready to roll. And that was just kind of been a validation that, yeah, everybody's right. This club can do it. This team this year has been such a surprise. They were kind of just mediocre all through the summer months. And to light this fire and get to where they are now on the verge of being in the playoffs, and once you're in, you got a chance. That's been proven. This, to me, it's just as memorable as 84. If they actually win a couple of playoff series, it's right there with it. Now, of course, the 84 bunch, they finished it off and won the World Series. They always got that trump card. So you got to get that. But as memorable a 6 weeks of baseball as you can get.
All right, Chris, what's your number?
So mine, and we kind of touched on this a little bit, is 31. And that is the number of 1-run wins for the Tigers this year, which is the most in baseball. Only one other, let's see, nobody else has 30. The Cardinals and Rays both have 29, and there's like a handful more that have more than 25 one-run wins. And the Tigers also have 24 one-run losses. They have by far, and not by far, but by 2, the most one-run games all year. So if it feels like they've been playing in a bunch of tight games, they have been. You're right. But here's the thing, they're 11-2 in their last 13 one-run games. And the 2 losses were the extra inning game in San Diego and the extra inning game in Oakland. They've come through in every other one-run game down the stretch, which is just insane, and it feels like a run of extreme luck. But you make your own luck when you pitch well and you get timely hits.
And defense.
Yeah.
They're not giving up a lot of cheap runs. Here and there on some of the pop-ups that get goofed up, which I don't want to get down that road again. But
yeah,
defensively, this club is saving runs, and Sweeney, especially with that play today, was amazing. Parker Meadows, everything he's done, we know about. When you couple that with what the bullpen's done, you can see why they're doing this in the one-run games. And of course, having an offense that's a bit mediocre at times has kept it to a lot of one-run games.
Yeah, yeah. Some of the better teams don't have very many one-run games at all. But yeah, the Tigers have been coming through over and over and over again, and yes, they are the king of the one-run win.
They are. You know, it's even those games too are like just Elton mentioned earlier not having nails right now, and same thing. Like there's just the stress factor alone during these games. It just you knew the Tigers were going to come back today. You felt it. You were sensing it. But yeah, it's just when you have guys, and that's kind of leads to my next inside number. My guys doing stuff like this, 0.48. That's Sean Gunther's ERA over 15 appearances since August 22nd. He's allowed one run over 18 2/3 of innings of work.
Yeah.
Sean Gunther, ladies and gentlemen, who, I mean, there was, I think it was Jason Benet was talking about on the podcast today that he was paraphrasing what he was trying to do in Toledo, like where he was going to be at. But he said the team felt welcome with open arms. Wasn't sure what was going to happen, but he kept believing like something's going to happen here. And Gunther has been another example of the majesty of Federline and Nieves. I mean, and credit where credit's due to the Tigers scouting staff too with that find. I really think it's a situation where they saw something with him. Keep in mind, guys, he was in the minor leagues for a year after Tommy John. Was it Tommy John, Chris?
Yeah.
Yeah. So it was Tommy John. So the Tigers were patient with him. It wasn't just they waited for him to come back, and he worked his way back up from Lakeland all the way up here. And he's been sensational and giving him another. He's been actually better than the guy, Andrew
Vasquez?
No. I was trying to think of the lefty they just traded. Andrew Chafin.
No, Chafin, yeah. Chafin. Teams are going to stop trading for Chafin at the deadline because it's it seems like he struggles whenever he lands on a new team in the middle of the season. So. It's Gunther for a while there wasn't getting any strikeouts, and in that last outing he just was like, "What if I strike out 4 people in a row?"
Yeah.
Okay. All right. Sounds good.
And I was looking at his numbers the other day too, just before these last couple outings, and noticed he hadn't given up any power, and his strikeouts were low, as you mentioned. BABIP was low, and you keep expecting things to go wrong. And he's had a little help from his defense. I mean, Meadows pulled one back in, and then Wenzel Perez made that outstanding running catch in the gap. I mean, that was a beauty right there. So he's gotten a little help, but you know what? Every pitcher gets a little bit of help, especially the successful ones. And as you mentioned, Chris, he came back and struck some guys out. So, the longer he keeps it going, he just has to get through another month for the Tigers, another few weeks. And he's been really a godsend to that bullpen.
Yeah. I don't know. Yeah. Some of these arms that they're finding, it's kind of wild. These guys from Toledo have come up and become huge members of the bullpen, and then to the point where Shelby Miller gets cast off, and Kenta Maeda is just kind of down in a hole.
He makes the coffee.
Yeah, I mean it'll be. I don't expect Maeda to be on the playoff roster if they do finish it off, because I don't know what role he would play.
Yeah.
So
especially against a team like Houston,
there'll be some interesting discussions there about who they might take with them on the playoff roster, but we'll wait until they actually clinch it. But yeah, I know somebody earlier was asking who's going to start tomorrow for the Tigers, and I don't know. I assume that Brant Herter will be the bulk guy.
I was thinking Brisky,
but didn't he go 2 innings today?
Did he go 2?
I thought he went 2 today. So, let's see. Tigers.
I thought it was 1.
Yeah.
2 innings today.
Was it? Oh,
yeah.
I was working.
Olsen 4, Bice 4, Brisky 2, 23 pitches. He might do it. He might maybe Will Vest. I don't know if he's opened any games, but
yeah.
In any event, yeah, it's a Brant Herter day, and then time. I don't know. They'll figure it out. A bunch of arms throwing. Probably may or may not see Jackson Jobe again. Which was fun. It was very cool to get him to debut in an atmosphere like that. Basically everybody chanting his name, him coming out and for a really large crowd to pitch a completely meaningless inning. Otherwise, I mean, not meaningless, of course, but about as low stakes as you can get at this point in the year. So, yeah, I think people, Dan Fernandez, I was surprised to see Mize after Olsen. That they came out when they announced the starters for the series, right? That he was not listed, so it was kind of obvious that he was moved to the bullpen. I assume that they will bring Mize into the postseason, but he's another one where it's like, I don't know. I mean, it's tough to find a role for him.
Yeah, maybe they're saving Matt and Herder for this weekend against the White Sox. So, I mean, don't get the White Sox hot. Again, can't say that with a straight face. It's just do yourself a favor and go down the ballpark. I mean, the tickets possibly be close to a sellout. The crowds have been fantastic to see down there. And there was, I think it was Johnny Kane and Tony Paul were talking about how. Did I say Johnny Kane?
No, you got it right. I'm sorry. I thought you were going to mention that they both mentioned that
cash.
Yeah, a bunch of people didn't realize that you can't use cash at the stadium anymore.
Yeah, that's great.
Been that long. But then, no, I saw somebody had tweeted about how Johnny Kane suspiciously said this right after Tony Paul did. Johnny Kane tweeted back I don't love that you used the word suspicious.
Yeah,
and it was like, yeah, they both talked to the same hot dog vendor. It was Johnny Kane suspiciously talking about Jackson Jobe making his MLB debut the same time as Chris and Roger. Yeah, okay, we're all going to be talking about something interesting, but
we're not going to steal. I mean, we're not going to steal the graphic like Ben Verlander did, who ended up apologizing to the. So it's good on him that he actually apologized.
Yeah, I did. Oh, that's good. Okay, he did. I missed the apology, but that's that's good.
Yeah.
No, it's the last time that the park was filled like this. Well, it was right around the time Cabrera was trying to do all his, I think trying to get his 500th home run at the time, or was it his 3,000th hit?
3,000th hit.
The hit, yeah.
Yeah.
Well, I feel like either way, the crowds were there, and there's been a sellout here and there since then, but not as much as what's going on right now. So yeah, hopefully everybody can get down there, and have a good time.
So speaking of the how good that was, we'll kick off our good and the bad, the ugly. All right, Chris, what is your good, the bad, the ugly this week?
So my good is competition. In general, we kind of touched on this a little bit. You talked about Grady Sizemore holding Garrett Crochet back to face the Tigers. The division rival. Got to give them all we can. You're not just going to lie down for them, and that's good. I like it. It's like you said, it's just more motivation for the Tigers and go out there and beat one of the better pitchers in the American League, because they have been doing a whole lot of winning, so I don't think they're going to be scared of Crochet. They beat him game 1 of the year, right?
Yeah,
good way to clinch. But also, just there was also a bunch of angry Guardians fans because TJ Friedl bunted for a hit. There was a combined perfect game going on. It was it the 6th inning, or they had gone through 6?
Yeah,
but it's a 2-0 game. And Friedl bunting is a part of Friedel's game, and he scored later, and they tied it up. I don't know what you're going to get so upset about that, but
plus you also clinched already. You already have the number 1 seed, or you have a bye already, and also the Kentucky Red, the Cincinnati is part of Kentucky. That joke got old 40 years ago when I first heard it. They're beating that joke into the ground all weekend.
We all know that nobody in Ohio likes Ohio, even people from Ohio,
yeah.
But. Yeah, no, it just the idea of going out there and still competing down the stretch, unlike those dastardly Washington Nats who just gave up and let the Royals run all over them. But hopefully, go ahead. Yeah, competition. I like it. My bad is not trading for enough pitching at the deadline. And now this doesn't apply to the Tigers, although it does kind of, but they weren't buying, so it's fine. But you see across the league, teams that didn't quite add enough pitching And now the Orioles have shut down Grayson Rodriguez for the rest of the year, so he's not going to be part of the playoffs. Nestor Cortez for the Yankees hitting the IL. And then, the Dodgers are full of injured pitchers. Tyler, Glasnow, Gavin Stone, Kershaw, all probably going to miss the entire playoffs. It's, I don't know. It's maybe a bunch of teams are just going to kind of piece it together with their bullpen like the Tigers have been doing, but it sure feels like a team like the Astros that seems to have gotten healthy, and that, they went and got Kikuchi, and he's been great. Framber Valdez is back. Hunter Brown has been good. It seems like they're really poised to win a longer series with some good arms, and it just feels like these other teams didn't do enough. So we'll see. We'll see how it plays out, right? The playoffs are still to be determined, but that was my bad. And my ugly is just teams being gross and cheap. And then we could do this every week, but there's a couple stories. I just saw this tonight that people who spent 40 years working at the Oakland Coliseum were told on Monday that they would not be getting any kind of severance or health care after today.
John, I'm sorry, I don't mean to swear, folks, but John Fisher can eat a bag of dicks. Seriously, John Fisher, fuck you. What a douche. Seriously, sorry, if you're listening with kids at home, I apologize, but seriously, jump off go jump off San Francisco Bridge or something. Like, I know that sounds very, very extreme, but come on. Seriously, how cheap are you? You can't.
Well, yeah, and it's not just them, right? And you mentioned the Ben Verlander thing. He got in trouble because he took the work of somebody else who was pointing out that the Pirates released Rowdy Tellez. They also released Michael A. Taylor, I believe. But Tellez, they released him, six plate appearances before he would have gotten another $200,000.
Yeah.
And, I guess from a business standpoint, it makes sense, right? You save yourself $200,000 in a lost season, but it just looks absolutely awful. Like you're not playing for anything. This guy, he's a veteran. How many you want other veterans to come sign with you? Why would if I wouldn't. I mean, I guess the Pirates aren't really swimming in deep waters anyway with free agents, but I don't know. I'd be looking for anywhere other than there, because I wouldn't trust them to honor, my deal. So I don't know. It's just a bummer to see the cheapness extend all the way through baseball and we're, Jerry Reinsdorf to Oakland, to Pittsburgh. And we were joking the other day, how, and I've seen other people mention this too, Jason Benetti leaving the White Sox right before, the worst season in history, and coming to the Tigers for one of the most miraculous postseason runs in history. That's pretty good. I compared it when I was talking to Raj. I compared it to Harrison Ford jumping off the prison bus right before the train hit him in The Fugitive. So anyway, just cheap people. It's gross and ugly. I don't like it.
I don't like it at all. And I'm trying to find the clip of. Yeah, here it is. I want to play this because it's very important to hear, and I'm trying to find the exact point where he says this. But I love what Jeff Passan said here. He said this he was on with I'm drawing a blank on the guy's name now all of a sudden. Pat McGee, or what's this?
McAfee?
McAfee, yeah. My brain's trying to become mush today. There we go.
Uh-oh.
It always does this. See, I just technology work for me today.
That's a good
whatever's behind passing there. It looks like he has devil's horns on his head.
Oh, and the good and the bad and the ugly right behind him. Look at that.
It's pretty cool. Maybe he's a fan of the show. Who knows?
Mm-hmm.
Let's see here. What? See, this is what I'm talking about. Okay. Anyways, let me see if I can find it. Locate it again.
Didn't say I grew up. That has been awful at baseball for a long.
It's gonna take a minute.
And hook, line, sinker. Oh, I bought it.
Frequent, but let's go back to spring training this year when JD Davis, who had beaten the San Francisco Giants in arbitration, which is how you determine your salary, and was supposed to get a $6.9 million salary to play third base for the Giants. They go out and sign Matt Chapman, and they cut JD Davis, and because he had won that salary in arbitration, was only guaranteed $1.1 million. So the $200,000 compared to the $5.8 million that JD Davis lost was a little different. But I think the important point here is not to focus on how the Pirates screwed Rowdy Tellez out of $200,000. It's to look at the Pirates and to look at Bob Nutting and to ask, why is Rowdy Tellez your first baseman in the first place? Why aren't you going out and getting better
So he does
players?
stink, okay.
Why don't you sign Christian Walker or Pete Alonso or someone this winter to go and be a part of the core of that lineup long term? Why are you always playing for short term with little money? Why do you have an $86 million payroll to open the season when the rest of the sport at the top has $300+ million? How do you continue to exist as a Major League Baseball owner who theoretically wants to win a championship and do so pinching pennies? This is what happens. This, Pat, is the consequence of ownership that does not treat things seriously.
Well said. Well said.
No.
Yep.
Yeah. And we talked about that JD Davis thing earlier in the year. It's hard to believe that was that long ago, but man, yeah, it's been a quick year.
Yeah. So, all right, Uper, what's yours?
Mine is just the fun. The good is just the fun that we're having. You know, as someone who lives out of state, you know, obviously I rely on Jason Benetti and Dan Dickerson to, you know, telecast to me what's going on. And we've talked a lot about Jason Benetti. He doesn't need to be told anymore how wonderful he is. But I just want to appreciate I think he has drawn some of the fun aspects of the other guys in that booth out. Whether Gibby wanted to let some of them out or not. But he has brought those other guys into his world, and they're having a hell of a good time with this. And it's very infectious. It's very fun to watch. It's just super engaging. You could see, you know, in the past, I mean, we would love this run just as much, I would think, if Rod and Mario were in the booth, okay, because they were just fine. But what we've experienced with Andy Dirks, got even more of the personality out of Dan Petrie. Carlos Pena losing his mind last night. That's all due, I think, to Benetti setting them up for a lot of that. And yeah, you know, he came at the perfect time, leaving Chicago after a run of questionable years with La Russa, and then just before this mega losing season that they've had. Good for him, but really good for us. It's worked out really nice. He was the right man in the right spot, and he's got a bunch of compadres now that work well with him. My bad, you know, that Washington Royals series, you know, because it meant something to Detroit, I ended up watching as much of that as I could. Wow, was that hard baseball to watch. I mean, Washington is really in the tank. I mean, my God. I mean, they, other than the prospect James Wood, who was kind of fun to watch, but he didn't do a whole lot in this series. They have no thump. There was just never a point in that series where, oh, man, they're going to knock a couple home runs and get back into this. Boy, no way. And then KC, to have as many wins as the Tigers have right now, and I realize the Tigers are on a historic run, but that offense, I mean, at one point they had scored no runs in 28 innings. They had scored 1 run in 37 innings, and they had scored 3 runs in 45 innings going back into the Detroit series. That is a team that has just stopped scoring runs. They got just enough to scrape by in Washington, but we're going to see what happens this weekend playing the Braves. I'm hopeful that the Braves can squash them like a bug and really put the Tigers in good position. And then I did the good, the bad, and the finally. I'm finally happy that hopefully this is all over in Oakland. And I know a lot of people are sad about the Oakland fans, and I get it. And I know Fisher is cheap. I get that. And I know that the local community they've had a shitty stadium for 50 years, and nobody's done anything about it, whether that's MLB, the ball club, or the city, or the state, or whoever. It's just a mess. It's been an ongoing embarrassment for baseball. You know, the sewage in the stadium, the critter that was running around the press box, all the other stuff. It's just been a joke. And sadly, they've had some great teams in there. The dynasty in the 70s, the good teams in the late 80s, the Billy Bean teams in the 2000s. But ongoing, it's always money, money, money. We're poor, we're poor, we're poor. Tired of hearing about it. Get them out of Oakland. Get them to Vegas as soon as you can. And then I don't want to hear about it ever again. If they start crying poverty, then they obviously should put Fisher on a boat and let it go with and never be heard from again.
No, I completely agree with that.
Yeah.
No, he's trying to even get more money out of Vegas now. I mean, he's trying to they're trying to do a school bond or like a school bond, and he's crying about it because they're not giving him as much fund as he wanted. Like, dude, pay for something already. Just shut up.
They're going to end up being like Brent Rooker's traveling band of hobo all-stars. Like,
Yeah.
no home field, just on a train playing across the country.
And like, it's weird, even weird. They're going to be playing Sacramento, and they're going to be called the A's, not the Sacramento A's, the A's. How stupid is that?
Yeah.
It's all very dumb. Like, I don't know. I don't know what the rules are, why the other owners can't get together and go, just sell the team, you idiot. Like, sorry, like, you'll make money, sell the team. Like, but I guess the owners are all, they got their own special club where they're betting each other $1 to see if they can turn somebody into a successful trader.
Well,
they must not want to do it because there is a way. I mean, that's how they got that McCourt out in LA, right?
Yeah.
I think
so what it was is that there was a San Diego owner among the former Padres owner, among a couple others, were like pushing against this. And after he passed away, it was basically John Fisher had free reign to do what he wanted to do. Fisher's worst nightmare is if the A's, and if Jake says this in here, is the A's make the playoffs next year. And he's right. Like the A's, and Alan makes also another great point too. This franchise has been moving around since the dawn of time. I mean, Philly, Oakland, or Philly, then Kansas City, then Oakland, now Vegas, Sacramento, or like it's all weird. But I do, for my good, is Oakland. Actually, Oakland's my good, and I'll tell you why. It's because Ricky Henderson had a quote, and that's always good. If you love baseball and you love Ricky Henderson, you know that he doesn't dominate the English language too well, and it's fantastic. So he was talking about he was talking to the San Francisco Chronicle that he does not believe that MLB will ever return to Oakland. So here's my chance to speak like Ricky Henderson. Quote, ain't gonna bring one. Basically, baseball won't get one here again. I'm telling you. I talked to the commissioner. He said all along they won't come out here. I don't care who buys the team or whatever happens. We just messed up. We did a whole lot of damage. What can you say? And then here, emotions were flowing at the Coliseum as fans watched the A's play in their hometown for the last time. But Henderson told the Chronicle he wasn't sad. I can't be sad, he said. I have too much money, and I did too much here. So all these great things here. I'm more happy than sad. Maybe later. Maybe he'll hit you later. Maybe later it'll hit you when it's all said and done. But honestly, today I'm gonna have fun. Ricky Henderson, ladies and gentlemen, just finds the silver lining and everything. Finds out that John Olerud was a teammate of his later on. It's
no, Ricky. Well, one of the greatest baseball players ever. Sometimes it's fun to go and look at his stats and just go, "What the hell?"
Yeah,
like. Good Lord, look at these, 500 steals clear of anybody else, 1 billion walks. Yeah.
And he made a lot of money, and he will let you know that.
Well, yeah, I mean, that was the one, the story that he never cashed his first check, right? He put it on the wall without cashing it.
$1 million.
Yeah.
Whoops. What are you going to do?
My bad is that the minor league season's over. It sucks. I don't you know what, Jake, I'm surprised they didn't say a third person either. My bad is that it's just the minor leagues, the minor league season's over. I'm bummed out about it. Honestly, I felt like the season went by pretty quickly, and it sucks. And my ugly this week, really, I mean, honestly, I don't really, with everything going on so rare, or so all these cool things going on with the Tigers. I mean, I feel bad for people for the Mets and Braves right now, the hurricane stuff. That stuff's ugly because you're on pins and needles figuring out whether your team's going to make it the postseason. Although I think it's going to be the Mets and Diamondbacks right now, as the Braves are a game back. The Cubs have been eliminated. So, No, it's yeah. Samuel makes a good point here. It's the first MLB team to lose this team since Montreal, where he does live,
I
and
didn't
it's
know that.
yeah. Oh yeah. Samuel, big
Yeah.
Expos guy. Yeah, I don't have my Expos hats on, but
So yeah, I mean,
Anyway.
we've got Boston's officially eliminated. The Mariners are officially eliminated. I saw somebody point out that they are the inverse of the Tigers. You know, the Mariners had a 10-game lead at one point in their division, ended up, blowing it, and to the point where their manager got fired. So that's rough. It seemed like the Diamondbacks were having a real hard time against the Giants, but I don't know. Yeah, it'll be interesting to see how they navigate this Hurricane Helene. Is it Helen
Yes.
with an E? Hellenic.
Helene.
Yeah, I don't know. That's always good for baseball to be played in the Southeast in hurricane season. They should just play
Yeah,
them anyway. See what happens.
Yeah, ask Lakeland about it. They got hosed.
Yeah, the Gabriel Reyes.
Yeah.
And that's one thing that you should. I too am sad about the minor league season being over. Although, it's a bit of a slog during the year. There's 4 or 5 games night for 6 months, but we do have the Arizona Fall League coming up.
I'm forever grateful for you, Chris. That when it's so funny when when I'm like, I'll help you with video, and I'll do a video, and you're like, all right, did it. I'm like,
Yeah.
all
Sorry
right.
about
Well.
that. But yeah, what was I gonna say? But yeah, the Tigers had the best combined minor league record in baseball this year, and they won 2 titles. I don't know if anybody else has matched them with those 2 titles yet, but as we said, it's not just happening at the big league level; it's happening at basically every level but Toledo this year, and that's because Toledo had all their players stolen or hurt.
So right now, the AAA championship, it's Columbus and Omaha. So if Columbus wins, that would give the Cleveland 2 championships because Lake County, their high affiliate, won. And then,
Well,
huh?
No, go ahead.
And then I think it's a AAA championship would be then after the winner of that game. I think plays
the 1-game title against the leader of the BCL
Sugarland. So between Omaha and Columbus right now, Omaha's up 7-3 on top of some. Omaha being the Royals affiliate. So
and I don't think they have another title. I think Birmingham won the Southern League. But yeah,
Arkansas. Who's Arkansas?
Milwaukee. Did we take?
Yeah, that's right. That's right. Yeah, that's right. Yeah, and then the other AA affiliate was the White Sox.
Yeah, but no, just to go back, like Columbus is almost always good. Akron's almost always good. Lake County's almost always good, and it's surprise, Cleveland is almost always pretty good in the big leagues. So when you build an organization and you have some sort of stability there, it's not a shock when you have that kind of profile. I don't love the kind of profile that Cleveland targets, but it works.
Yeah.
A lot of just switch hitting middle infielders who hit and have zero power but have good gloves. So yeah, don't be surprised for the next group. It's going to be Angel Janau annoying you in 2 years, and there you go.
Oh, by the way, I'm sorry. Arkansas is Seattle.
Ah, okay.
Okay.
Well, they have a good farm system too. So
sorry. Yeah, Seattle does have a good farm system.
But the Tigers,
they're
good. They've been winning. It's fun.
And it's fun in triple. And look, Erie might have a chance to win again next year too. And I wrote that because I felt I'm not just saying it to be slappy. I really think that they have with McGonigal, Clark. You have Jaden Ham. There's some really good prospects in West Michigan that are going to be possibly coming up in Erie. If they can make the adjustment to AA and they can stay healthy, sky's the limit. So
yeah, there's almost all of the. It's kind of an interesting 2 waves of prospects in the Tiger system now, and a lot of them have either graduated fully to the Tigers or they're very close, like Young, and I think Sweeney's probably passed now. I'm not sure, maybe not yet, but there's that group, and then Joe's up there. He's still a prospect, but then there's the next group, like you said, McGonigal, Clark, Briseño, Lorenzo, Montalvo, and Bryce Rayner will be coming along, even though we didn't see him this year, and so a lot more fun prospects down at the lower levels. But
Carson Rucker,
all those younger guys, Owen Hall, Ethan Scheffelbein, like the interesting players they took this year are a lot of them are really young. And you know what? Probably 1 or 2 of those the college players they took this year will end up popping a little bit next year, the way we saw We saw flashes, not just Ham,
Penny.
right? But we saw
Penny.
flashes out of we saw flashes out of Callahan and Jarvis and a bunch of the guys they took last year. So
It's
that'll be
probably too early to ask you guys this, and I'm putting you on the spot. But the player right now who makes his major league debut in the first half of next season that we don't suspect it'll be, who would you take?
we don't suspect it'll be.
Yeah, someone will really surprise us.
Tyler Owens.
Tyler Owens. I was going to go Hao-Yu Lee.
Yeah, Hao-Yu Lee was my positional player choice.
Yeah, but I don't know. Like, if it's just tough to like say if you don't expect that or not. We never know what other people expect. But
Alan makes a good question here. Before we got here, I like this question a lot. Is there enough pitching in the upper levels of the Tiger system? I think there will be now. I mean, you look at Yusmeiro Sanchez coming up. You look at Rainer Castillo, who's going to Arizona Fall League. He's 20 years old. He's just turned 20. And I think he's going to get challenged by going to high A next year. And if he can do well in the Arizona Fall League and get started at West Michigan pretty well, don't be surprised if he moves up to Erie relatively quickly. So I think if you look at Jake Miller, who's another reliever Tyler Madsen's coming back too. So I think that you have some. Yeah. I don't think it's going to be, in terms of starter wise, I don't think it's going to be as deep. And it's like, at first glance, I think it's going to be more bullpen depth on the upper levels and starter level. Like, Jaden Ham, you got Troy Melton.
Yeah,
and then, go ahead.
No, you're right. Like, they're less sexy names, I guess. Like Garrett Burhan will probably get up to Toledo.
Yeah.
And
he had a really good year, though. I mean,
he did. And Melton is an interesting, talented arm. And but I also don't think that they're going to head into next year planning on Brant Herter and Ty Madden and maybe even Kyler Montero being members of the rotation. Like, they're going to go out and get some arms in some capacity, I think. And so that'll kind of backfill the upper levels with depth. But yeah, you could always use more pitching, and that is, I see that there's not a ton of super exciting arms there, but they'll have depth. At least for, they could probably survive for a few injuries.
Yeah.
So do they clinch tomorrow or Saturday?
I think they clinch tomorrow. I think they right now, Marlins are still up 4-1, I believe. 3-1, 4-1. So I think they win. They going in tomorrow that they have to win tomorrow. They're going to pull all the stops to do it. And that way that gives them enough time to balance things out Saturday and Sunday. Yeah,
and the crowd's going to be nuts tomorrow.
Yeah,
like they're going to smell it, they're going to feel it, they're going to taste it. And if they don't, whatever, we'll go get the next go Saturday, and then Sunday is just a game. We get to see Jace Young and Justin Malloy finally get some more playing time.
Yes. Now, do you think that they can't say it, obviously, but would you rather see them play Baltimore over Houston right now?
I'd rather them play Houston, honestly.
Okay.
I would rather them play Baltimore. I don't know. What's your reasoning, Raj?
Well, I think I think they probably got in the Baltimore's head a little bit, but Baltimore and that ballpark, there's something about Camden Yards and Andrew Miller. It just still sticks in my head. So I don't know. Like, I really think that Houston's done a really good job of getting here. And it's been, I don't know. It's going to be, to me, the reason why Hinch against his old team, like the storyline right there is so much juicier and everything. Baltimore, I don't know. I don't like Camden Yards. I'll just tell you this right now. I just hate Camden Yards. But winning on Houston on the road, something about that. Houston is a veteran-laced team. I know, and if they beat Houston, it'd be so much sweeter. It would be so much sweeter than that. And yes, Baltimore does have I'm probably the minority about them playing Houston, but I just think the way it's lined up right now, the way the worlds are, I think they're just going to have to play Houston. That's the only reason why I say that. So.
Yeah, no, for me, it's I think everybody's kind of touched on it, but yeah, Baltimore's pitching is kind of tough right now, and they've been an average team in the entire second half of the season.
Yeah,
they're basically about 500 in the second half, where Houston has kind of played. They haven't played quite as well as the Tigers overall, but they've been steadily above average. And I just, like I said earlier, like Houston has enough pitching, starting pitching, that it bothers me. They could go deep in 3 outings, and they have Alvarez and Kyle Tucker, who are basically immune to platoon stuff. They murder left-handed pitching too, which scares me. Whereas with like Baltimore, they've got a bunch of good hitters. Kowser did a bunch of damage, but the only guy that like scares the hell out of me is Gunnar Henderson. I don't know. I mean, like, they're both very good teams. It's going to be hard to beat either one of them. But at this point, I would rather see Baltimore. But I say that, and they'll go there and lose the first 2 games and not score a run. I don't know. It's baseball.
I just see Houston. They have so much postseason experience up and down the roster. There's nobody's going to shrink from at bats in the postseason on that. On that team, the starting pitching is very good. The power matches Baltimore's power, maybe even surpasses it. So I would rather see them play Baltimore, get another look at their pitching. The Tigers hitters have seen them all now. Of course, that works both ways. They've seen Detroit's pitching, but still,
right.
I just think that Baltimore, if they're not hitting home runs, they didn't do much to scare anybody in that 6 games against the Tigers. So if the Tigers have limited home runs pretty well, I think they can do it again for a couple games in Baltimore. So I'm hopeful that they end up there, but either way, it's going to be a lot of fun. So let's have to see what we get.
No, Stan pointed out that Baltimore did not see Super Bowl, so maybe that's a reason why. But they have to overcome Kansas City, and I just don't see that happening. I think Kansas City keeps it going, and they'll hold in that spot because they have the tiebreaker. So on that note, we will, Baltimore is going to impact bats. We're out of time. Thank you so much for listening to or watching us tonight on the Motor City Metrics. And of course, you're listening at home. Thank you so much for listening to us all season long. And next week will be possibly a postseason show, our first ever postseason show. And so we'll be back. So we'll be out this weekend. So anybody that's out in the chat going to the game, just shoot us a DM on Twitter or if you're in our Discord, you know where to find us. And
probably be in and out of that press box like every 2 innings.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, I'm not gonna lie. I'm going to cover the game as much as I can, but I'm also going to go out there and see a couple good familiar faces. Sean's coming into town from Tennessee, so I'm not gonna miss that. Matt, hopefully we'll finally get to meet Matt finally once and for all, who's been a fan since Tigers SRD. Matt's been around since Tigers SRD, and that's history. Uper's been around since Tigers SRD, and it's almost a decade. That's a decade, almost like literally a decade.
Yes, sir.
This is Scott Harris Appreciation Show. Yeah, we've been around, but this is also an Al Avila. I appreciate Al Avila too as well. So, who you got to root for in the next hour or 2.
Mm-hmm.
So, I'll see everybody down there this weekend. Stay classy, everybody, and we'll be back next week for our first ever. Can we say postseason show? I mean, can we say that is officially going to happen, or
they got like a 97% chance, but
in the 3% chance, I mean, we'll be doing a show regardless next week.
Mm-hmm.
But there'll be some postseason flavor to it.
We're confident.
So, we're confident. Yes, we're for the first time in a long time. We're confident. And Walter, thank you so much for tuning in since the Jackson Jobe draft show, which was like 4 years ago, man.
Oh, 3 for sure.
Yeah, wow.
Yeah, 21 draft, right?
Yeah.
22 was Jobe, 23 was Clark, 24 was Rayner.
Yeah. Crazy, man. Crazy. Time has flown by so much. So thank you, everybody, from the bottom of our heart. Seriously. We had a nice email from Ray.
Oh, that was an awesome email. Yes, thank you, Ray.
Ray, who listens to Tigers Minor League podcast, but it didn't matter because he was just talking about the podcast in general. He said how much warmth and how much we bring to him and everything, and just I was crying. I'm not gonna lie, I was crying this morning. I was reading that. I'm like,
Ray McConnell?
No, not Ray. This other gentleman named Ray. Oh. He's from Southern California, who grew up here. Yeah, and just a very nice gentleman. And
it was a terrific sort of thing to read. Very heartwarming and made it all seem worth it.
Yeah, and, Jeremy, we'll see you down there this weekend. Have a good night, everybody.